My name's Howard Jeffs. I've been involved in sea kayaking for probably near on 40 years now, if not more, quite frighteningly. And I've been involved in all aspects, from coaching, which I'm still involved in, and also in boat design, manufacture and construction. So I've got quite a knowledge, in-depth knowledge of sort of how kayaks work, how people break them, and how to perhaps fix them. I run a lot of assessments and training courses, and it always surprises me how people turn up an assessment with repair kits that just don't work. So what I've tried to do is put together a few of the key bits, look at the more common damage that you'll get in a kayak, and then how we can try and address that very quickly and efficiently. Okay, classically we're on the water, and somebody's perhaps rock hopping, smashed down onto a rock, and we've got a puncture underneath the kayak. Here's a bit of composite laminate. It's punctured through, and as you can see, there's quite a lot of damage here, and obviously water's going to leak through here. We need something quick, easy, that's perhaps going to work underwater, that can just stop the stem of water until we can come up with a plan of what we're going to do. Denso tape is or known as plumber's tape quite often, is a wax grease impregnated bandage. It is absolutely horrible stuff to work with, and the last thing you want to be doing is pulling this apart, trying to cut it with a pair of scissors or a knife, and then trying to stick it onto the boat. It just doesn't work. You've got to prepare this before you get onto the water. This packet here is Denso tape, and on the back of it I've put some silver foil to make it easy to handle and you don't get covered in the stuff. Also is a J-cloth. Good quality J-cloth is really useful to be able to get to dry the surface off, and if we can get some element of dryness to our repair, we can then dry the area off. We can then pull out a patch of Denso tape and literally, even when wet, push it on, working from the middle outwards to get rid of any air. And this will give you a quick instant repair in a wet environment, and you don't end up covered in a mass of goo and mess which will be on your paddles and all your equipment, and a nightmare to wash off. It'll only come off with either petrol or paraffin. We've now got something. The silver paper also helps keep it water, the water will flow over the top, and that way it'll stop peeling off. If we put plastic on the back, I've found over a period when you're paddling along, it catches up under an edge and then will peel off. And this is a pretty quick, instant waterproof repair. Okay, we've been rock hopping, and Liz has bumped the bottom of her boat and got a pretty nasty split underneath the hull. And here we're just going to get out a patch of Denso tape, literally rip it out the packet, pull that off. If we've got our J-cloth, then great. Try and dry the area off a little bit if you can. Get the Denso tape on and work it with your fingers from the middle outwards. We've got to expel that water that's going to be underneath the Denso tape here. Once we've got it on and it's sticky, go around the edges with your fingers, really squeeze the edge down so the water's not going to push that back up, and pull the patch off. Okay, so it's nice and secure. Liz just tips over now. There we go. So hopefully that'll just stem the water, and we can now get ashore or find somewhere to land and make something a little more permanent. Obviously we'd need to pump her out if she's got a lot of water in the cockpit. Okay, we've got another puncture here in our composite boat, be it Kevlar or a glass type kayak, or in a plastic boat. We need something to bung that hole quickly, and that's surf wax, used by board surfers to stand on their board so they don't slip. It's also useful on our paddles and a brilliant repair material. Small pack like this, keep it in here, and you've got a block. This is my old block, been in my buoyancy aid for I don't know how long. And in a situation like this, we can now scrape this using a cheese grater effect and bung the hole up very, very quickly. And suddenly we just stem the flow of water just enough to find somewhere where we can land and sort ourselves out. Works brilliantly on a plastic boat where you get a nice sharp edge. On a composite kayak it tends to be more broken, and what you can do is melt a piece of wax in your fingers, just a sort of a type of beeswax, and bung the hole up literally with the wax. And you're away. We've stopped the water getting into the boat. What are we going to do now? And we can come up with a plan. So Liz has split the bottom of her boat, and we need to do something a little bit more substantial. Perhaps our Denso tape hasn't worked. And what we're going to use is the surf wax. And Liz is going to climb out on the back deck of my boat, and then we'll pull her boat across mine. We can make a more permanent repair, enough to get us back to shore, and then we'll get her back in her boat and off we'll go. One key thing to this is, before you get somebody to climb out on the back of your boat, get your emergency or your repair kit out of the boat, because once she sits on the back deck, the boat will be a lot lower, and if she tries to get anything out the back rear day hatch will flood very, very quickly. Okay, Liz, so she's coming raft up on me, and we're going to climb out on my back deck. Snuggle right up behind me once you're on. And if you can trap our paddles there, that's great. I put them down by the side of the hull, so it leaves your hands free then. There we go. And that's our little bag of goodies. If you can look in there, and you'll find my surf wax, and then we're now just going to drag your boat over. And in this position, we've got a really good stable platform. Again, there's only 2 of us here, so with 3 or 4, it would make this job a lot easier. So I can now find my split in the hull, dig out my J-cloth, try and dry some of the area off. Anything to make that bond that little bit better. If you haven't got a J-cloth, you always use your hat. Most people have got a hat to hand. How's that wax doing? Good. Great. So we've warmed our wax up, we've got a nice gooey lump, and we're now going to push that into that split. Really jam it in, smooth it out. If it's a good crack, it'll force into the crack and make quite a mechanical bond. Warming it up beforehand with your fingers or in the palm of your hand will soften that up, really allow you to squeeze it back in right deep into the crack. As soon as that gets in the cold water, it'll stiffen up, harden up, and we've now got enough, made it enough watertight enough so we can get back to the shore. Okay, we managed to land on a rocky shore. Our patches we put on are leaking slightly, and we've still got a long way to go before we can get back to our car at the end of the day. So we need a slightly more permanent repair. What we can do is clean off our surf wax from the split or the Denso tape, whatever we've used initially. Try and get this area as clean as possible. We put a J-cloth in the original pack. Clean that off and get a nice clean surface. And what we can now use is epoxy putty. And these are just individual little packs, 2 different colours. Pretty nasty stuff, epoxy. So you really want to put a pair of gloves on, which are also inside the pack. We're going to mix this up together until a few minutes. So take this out the packaging completely, and we're going to then mix this up in our fingers until we end up with a nice uniform colour. We now take hold of this and literally, like the surf wax, squash it into the split. This will take, depending on the temperature, maybe 5 minutes to set hard. But once it's hard, which it'll also set underwater, so you could do this afloat. Takes a little bit longer than the surf wax. Squash it into the split. Allow it to set. You could use your hand on top of it. The heat from your hand will allow it to set quicker. Or the bottom of your cup of tea maybe. And allow that to set completely. That will become rock hard, and you will need a chisel to remove that, but it'll definitely stop the water. And it will work underwater, but as I say, with it being cold, it'll take a little bit longer to go off. There's also gaffer tape in the pack. This can be used for a variety of repairs, be it to fix your kayak, perhaps your tent, lots of different types of repairs. If it was a very straightforward repair and we can land, we've got a split, we could just dry the areas, keep it in the sun, make it nice and dry, and put gaffer tape on it, and that will probably do for our repair, as long as we're not going to get into a situation where we're going to seal launch or we could rip the repair off. Great advantage of the gaffer tape is when we come to do a more permanent repair or take it to your local GRP specialist, there's not much for him to clean off. He's going to have to get his angle grinder and his chisel out to clean that off before he can do a nice tidy job for you.